The only way to get weight down is with a unibody. I don't think so. These guys are relying on, can't think of another word but bullshit artists. Show me the data. And they didn't have it. That's a bad way to do business. This is less expensive, a lot less expensive than we thought. It's got a lot more power than we thought. We were wrong. Power out of that thing is a lot more than what we had anticipated. If you want to try and do any mining in the United States or Canada, forget it. I mean, there's always somebody there with a big sign and a sad face. I think that GM has made some really bad bets. I think that the big loser right now is I can't suffer a fool, and I will not get in an argument with an idiot. And so they can yak on all they want.
Sandy back at it again with another video.
But I did everything from filing to barbering to machine cutting, everything, including heat treat in some cases. Nobody's going to tell me anything about anything. They're absolutely astounding. I've seen everything. Those are works of art. Those are masterful engineering pieces. If you try and retrofit something to fit into an existing product, you're an idiot. You should be executed. That may be harsh, maybe too harsh.
Are you a Tesla fanboy?
I'm an EV fanboy, but the cars are available to anybody in the company. So I will tell you that one guy has a BMW i3, and everybody else has got Teslas, either a Y or a 3, or a Y or a 3 coming. Most of our people are interested in Teslas.
In this video, Sandy is going insane about the common technologies that Tesla will produce and introduce in the future. Laughs at the way that car companies are still operating at, as he calls, the old style, and finally admits how Tesla is lying to us, and how everyone in his company has a Tesla, and they're not using any of the other EV crap that the others make, like BMW or General Motors. I'm not the one saying this, he is. He sincerely laughs at the engineers that these companies are using and says that they should be executed. This video is a supercut to the original one. Here we gathered all the highlights, so you don't have to waste any of your time. So, let's begin.
Ford is doing better than Tesla?
According to this chart here, they're pretty much neck and neck. There's a couple $100 difference, but the Tesla sells for more than the Mach-E, so they make more money that way. And this is based on what we know, or we used to know, about the battery pack, and that's a 2021. But now we're looking at the battery pack in detail. This is a 4680 battery, and the price, overestimated is the right word. This is coming out less expensive than what we thought.
So that's what
cheaper to make a jelly. This is the brand new one that we just took out of the Model Y that we have sitting in the back. Now we took a guess at it for that chart, but that's not the detailed analysis yet. And this is less expensive, a lot less expensive than we thought. It's got a lot more power than we thought. When Tesla releases some of this stuff on energy or battery size and battery, it's nice that they put that out, but we have to do our own testing to make sure that our customers get the absolute truth. We were wrong.
Sandy goes to say that he was completely wrong about the cost that he thought it costed Tesla to produce its batteries. Tesla's engineers are light years ahead, and he goes to say it costs Tesla far more less to produce batteries than any other car company out there. You know, the battery is the most expensive part in any electric car. And here is another advantage that Tesla have. This is simple. If Tesla can lower how much it costs to produce batteries, they can simply make more profits. And this is why they recently lowered the price of their vehicles. Because they're finding new ways to lower the cost of the materials that they use to make these cars.
Power out of that thing is a lot more than what we had anticipated. And the weight is about where we said, but the canisters are thinner than we thought. The canister is thinner, which means that the battery has more of the chemicals and the componentry to put this thing together and generate electricity. This is called a jelly roll, and a jelly roll is a whole lot easier to put together than anything that's rectangular in shape. And there's a lot less things that can go wrong. And if it does go wrong, throw it away, get another. And what do you do with it? Well, it just gets dumped into a big vat, and then they recycle it. And all of a sudden now, the lithium is cheaper. The nickel is cheaper. You can recycle the cobalt. If you want to try and do any mining in the United States or Canada, forget it. I mean, there's always somebody there with a big sign and a sad face. And we've got to get rid of that.
He got a strong point that we can't disargue with. More mining needs to happen, at least for the next couple of years, till we fix all of the supply problems that we have.
Anyway, this is what I'm predicting. I think that China is going to wind up with about 26%. I think Tesla is going to still have the majority at 20%. I think that Ford, because they're so far ahead of the pack, they're going to get about 8. Toyota will wind up with about 8. I think that GM has made some really bad bets.
Again, you can't disargue.
I gotta believe the latest GM stuff is miles ahead of the bull.
Well, I haven't seen any of it. They won't give us a car. We've begged and stuff. I think that the big loser right now is going to be Volkswagen.
You don't have Volkswagen on your chart.
It's under others.
Oh.
I changed that chart to others because there was a little skinny strip in there for VW. But when they fired Dietz and put the guy Porsche in charge,
Oliver Bloom.
Yeah, I don't know Oliver Bloom, but I thought Dietz would carry the day. I didn't. If I would have been asked in 2020 or 2019, who's going to win, I would have said it'd been Volkswagen. Volkswagen has everything they need, and instead, all he did was internal arguing at the top of the house. And you don't understand how smart we are and these kinds of things. So with Dietz gone, I just put it into others and called it a day. That light green area is where there's consumer demand, but there's no product. I think that light green area is going to be filled up by China. You can't stop the flood.
John, you're a big fan of the strategy that General Motors is taking in terms of electrification.
I am.
Wait, what?
And so you look at Sandy's chart and you see that General Motors is below Ford and equal with Nissan and Honda, which basically are not doing so well in this space. So what do you make of that?
Well, yeah, I see it differently. I'm very bullish on GM strategy. I believe it's 3 years, certainly, ahead of all the other legacy automakers. I believe by 2026, GM in this country will be second only to Tesla in terms of electric. I believe it's going to be ahead of Ford at that point.
I got seriously no comment on this.
When I look at the manufacturing capacity that's going into place right now, not in 2025 where everybody else is going to be, GM, in my opinion, is so far ahead of all the other legacy automakers, and it's running under the radar right now. Everybody's making fun. They only sold 24 Bolts last year or whatever it is. Just look at the manufacturing capacity for vehicles and for batteries, and it's going to be very apparent by the end of next year and by the end of 2026, I believe, everyone's going to say, how the hell did GM catch up so fast?
You'll notice that I have them on the list. I don't have Volkswagen there.
I share the same concern that you do with Volkswagen, but I'd also throw Toyota in with VW. I think they've dragged their heels on electric.
There's no question about that. They did not predict the market.
What are we looking at here?
15 years ago, a Canadian company came in and said, we can build a skateboard, okay, frame. I don't care whatever you call it, but let's call it a skateboard, and we can do it in casting. 15 years ago, I could not convince anybody to look at it. Sandy, you really don't understand. The only way to make a car is with unibody. I don't think so. The only way to get weight down is with a unibody. I don't think so. These guys are relying on, can't think of another word but bullshit artists. But anyways, did they get the data? Show me the data. And they didn't have it. Well, that's what everyone says. That's a bad way to do business. Look at that. 171 pieces of metal highlighted. And look at the different colors because they color coded it. That's high strength, aluminum, boron, mild steel, all welded together in such a fashionable way. And then you look at that one. You look at the other one. Oh yeah, 2 pieces of metal highlighted, 1,600 less welds. Say, does that look like a casting or what? And when you start looking at how much they've reduced the footprint for the body shop, think about this. Every one of those stampings, every one of them is going to have a slitter and an uncoiler. Every one of them is going to have at least 2 stamping dies. Some of them will have probably 4, and in some of those deep draw things, maybe 5 or 6. Every one of those transfer areas is either going to have a limit or a transfer bar that's in it, but a lot of times you can't use it. So that means I've got to have a robot there. You don't put people in harm's way anymore. Then you've got to have Pillsbury. Then you've got to have people maintaining all those dies. Then you've got to have people that are in the pits cleaning those things out. Then you got to take care of Swarf or Awful. The guys, I don't want to have too many people calling you up telling me, saying that Sandy's full of shit. On and on and on and on. All these things happen when you've got stampings.
I think what Sandy is trying to say, that they have a CEO, owns more than other 6 companies, or God knows basically how many he owns. SpaceX, Neuralink, and the company that makes tunnels, and another company that makes solar panels.
How do I know? Well, after I got done picking tomatoes, I became a tool maker. And guess what? I've had engineers telling me about how they make dies and molds. And I sit there and I nod my head because I can't suffer a fool, and I will not get in an argument with an idiot. And so they can yak on all they want, but I did everything from filing to barbering to machine cutting, everything, including heat treat in some cases. Nobody's going to tell me anything about anything. And I know how much work there is in this. And I went to Italy about a month or two ago. And I went down and I look at the Hydra factory, and I went in and I saw those die casting machines. They're absolutely astounding. I've seen everything. Those are works of art. Those are masterful engineering pieces. I'm telling you what, Tesla is showing the way. And by the way, see that big hole where the floor pan used to be? That's where the battery pack and the seats come up inside.
Carpeting and console along with the seat. It's brilliant. Where do you think Tesla might go next?
I think what they're going to have is a cage design similar to what was happening with the BMW i3, the safety cage or the safety module, whatever they want to call it. And I think your roof bows, your A-pillar, B-pillar, D-pillar, those are all going to be casting. I mean, there's no reason why we can't do that, but I'm not sure is whether or not they're going to be aluminum. There's a lot of reasons for using steel for those parts to get around that and whatnot and move toward something that's a different type of material. That's going to take some serious engineering. The material that they use for the castings now are seriously different than normal. Those things fill up in less than a second. They fill up in less than a second.
That's unreal.
And it is unreal. So that material had to go through a lot of testing and validation before they could make that happen. That's what I like about these aluminum castings. They're perfect. And if you've worked in a plant, perfection is really tough. And when you see a bunch of welded parts, I know what it's going to be like. I worked as a tool maker. I worked for the guys that did the welding of these things together. I worked on the stamping of bits and pieces and how hard it is to keep these things in a uniform way. And every time you figured out how it's supposed to be done, what happens? Purchasing finds a cheaper supplier. If you want to know why a body shop can never make any money, it's because a purchasing agent got a high achievement award for finding a new supplier with a new steel that no one's ever seen before. And now you've got to tune every one of those dies into this new material.
Here is a massive underrated engineering point that Sandy makes. Improving small parts in an engine or in the car as a whole will make it perform better in the road. It seems simple, yeah, but Tesla is the only one doing it. They know the importance of how small improvements can lead to huge results. Both of us don't really have any idea how the engine in an electric car works, so let's let Sandy explain more.
Is this supporting of John's argument that you really need a purpose-built platform for an electric vehicle?
I'm a big fan of bespoke. So I applauded Ford with the Mach-E, the Lightning. It's kind of like a rolling chassis already. So sticking a battery pack in there, that was a no-brainer. But for anything else that's coming down the pike, if you try and retrofit something to fit into to fit into an existing product, you're an idiot. You should be executed. That may be harsh, maybe too harsh.
Yeah,
Maybe
maybe.
they could just lose their job.
I don't know. Execution sounds all right in my book.
All right, fine, good. Then we'll leave it with execution. Yeah, there you go.
He is probably the only person that can talk like this. He's just being honest and likes to say what he have inside his chest. And again, he's spelling some facts. But Sandy, you gotta take it slow. These engineers that Ford, General Motors, or Volkswagen have are just normal engineers with normal human brains. And they don't have the same intelligence that Tesla engineers have.
Are you a Tesla fanboy?
I'm an EV fanboy. When they come in, I look at them with fresh eyes every time. I own a Rivian. The company owns a Model 3, and the company owns a Lightning. But the cars are available to anybody in the company. So I will tell you that one guy has a BMW i3, and then so who has the other odd electric vehicle? And everybody else has got Teslas, either a Y or a 3, or a Y or a 3 coming, or actually one person is ordering an X. I got to check and find out how they can afford that on my wages. I mean, I couldn't justify it. But anyway, I mean, you start working on this stuff. We've all worked on ICE vehicles. Doesn't take long for a smart person to figure out which ends up. Most of our people are interested in Teslas.
All of this positive news, and the stock is down.
Every kid wants them right now. That's what you've got to remember. The guys that are going to make the difference between winning and losing is not the clown who's got $150,000 or whatever it is to buy a Hummer. It's going to be the dad who's listening to his son or daughter saying, I want an EV. And the dad's going, well, you can have an EV, I guess. Doesn't look like there's much money in the old purse.
Sandy is right. For the EV cars to hit the huge masses, they need to make the price lower, because I don't know that many people that can afford a $100,000 car.
We're talking about a $25,000 hatchback Tesla.
That telling people a little bit, but not enough. And that's kind of like where things are a problem for most people that were listening to him. Tesla doesn't do it that way, so he's under-promising and over-delivering. And that's kind of like what he wants to do. So I think that we should take that into account. He was being very cautious, very measured about what he was going to talk about and how far he was going to go. So everybody looks at him and says, oh, that guy, he never delivers on time. So he's going to try and speed it up. Second thing is, I think that he's probably already at some sort of a scale that's good enough to start trying it out in mules, like cars that won't be sold. They're just for testing the product. I think he's already got to that mule stage, and I believe that the little product development area that he's got, the little laboratory, I think they call it Cato Road or something like that. That thing is probably already going balls to the wall to try and push these cars. I think they're there, but I don't think he wanted to tell anybody. He didn't want to have any controversy. So the stock went down. It'll go back up. I think he could probably do that in about a year. And remember, I've been right a lot. I've been right.
That's why we have you here.
Okay? Yeah.
That's why we have you here.
To do something for 25 grand, I think he said he's going to get the car out in a year. So